So what are your best memories of all this? Like, something that really sticks out as like, or like just maybe that you can't believe you did all this, or like I don't know. Is there?
Yeah, it's for me and Ralph to come out from a small school in Huntington County and no higher education and go out there and build a name as we have.
Yeah. Oh, it's the biggest.
Yeah.
Were you guys the most winning
Yeah.
ever? Like top of the line?
Yeah.
Is that still today?
Yeah. I won more Grand National titles than anybody. I think there's one guy that's got within about 3 of me in my classes.
Oh.
And he's no longer pulling. Knox's, they had a lot of power.
Sassy Massey.
Yeah, yeah. And Engler did too. You know, there was a lot of them. And them turbines, boy, they were tough.
Did you ever think of going turbines?
Oh, no.
No?
No. I'd quit before I'd do that.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't.
Just not your thing, huh?
No.
The only thing I heard about those was when I was talking to Steve Jaski. He ran 5 Ariuses, and their next step was going to be turbines because of the maintenance.
Yeah.
It was so much easier on them.
Yeah. And you got to learn how to run, take care of them and all that. And
Did you ever pull against Arfons?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
He was one of the regulars back then, right?
Yeah. He pulled as long as I did. And first time I was pulling, he was pulling.
That tractor's still around.
Yeah.
It's under somebody else's name.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Art was a good guy.
Yeah.
He really was.
How about who were your best friends while you were doing this?
Some of my best times and things like that, I had friends at every place that I went to pull. I went to Hamburg, New York. This family and lady would bring me butterscotch pies, and I'd go other places and they'd do things, and it just, I had people that come, and I had a young kid when I'd go to Hamburg, New York, and I'd go there by myself a lot of times, just by myself, and to run 2 tractors and take care of everything and truck it there and do all that. And I'd get there and I'd have to have people to help me. And this one little kid was about the same age as my son, or maybe a little older at that time. And there was about 4 or 5 years he was there every time. And I'd pull the tractor out the end, and most generally I had 2 tractors. I had to go back and run the next one. I'd get back to back. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And he'd get on that tractor and tow it around to the pits and put it back in where I needed it. And,
how old was he?
He wasn't much more than about 12, 13, 14.
Really?
Yeah. But
you had to trust him with that, right?
Yeah. And
well, maybe he'll see this and say, "Hey, that was me."
Well, I haven't seen him for the last 10 or 15 years. I went there. I never have seen him.
Okay.
But no, I got a lot of friends. I don't know their names. I don't know none of that.
Like pulling friends.
Yeah.
People you see every week, they would be like.
Every pull. When I go to this pull, this guy'd come up, and then, and we get it talking, and and all this here.
Like a big family almost, right?
Yeah. And
that's what I hear from a lot of people is it's a big family.
Yeah. And when we first started out, it's like the antique is now. We go there, and everybody's happy and get along and go. Yeah. When we started out pulling the last 5 years, we weren't able to do that, but I'd grill elk all the time. After the pull, I'd get pork chops an inch thick, and I'd grill them out. Yeah. Any of them pullers come around at 10, 11 o'clock at night after the pulls, I can have a pork chop, yeah, you know. Well, we was at Atlanta and Redman put it on, and they got me in there in this stadium with my truck and everything, and I decided I was going to grill out, and I said, where do I can get some good meat? And they told me about a meat market, and there in Atlanta, I went around to this meat market, and oh, that was quite a deal. It kind of stunk in there too, you know.
Oh man!
And I got meat, and when we started eating about 1 o'clock in the morning after the poll, some of the high people from Red Man and all them come back here, them ladies with nice fancy dresses.
Oh yeah, there you go.
They liked it. And they because they cooked up pretty good. You know, I knew how to cook them.
Yeah.
We had an old 35 drum cut up about this high,
right.
and I had a racket put on it, and then I would start the grill with. I'd have charcoal in there, but I'd start it with alcohol. You just pour alcohol on it, flow in a match, and that blue flame comes up, and that charcoal ready to go.
Like lots of alcohol.
Yeah.
Did you? That's one. Did you carry your own drums of fuel?
Oh yeah, yeah.
They didn't have it at the track for you to buy.
No.
You had to bring your own fuel and oil and all that stuff.
Yeah. Now there at the last, they thought we was cheating. They made us buy fuel there.
What? Somebody put nitro in it or something? Or
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's another thing. You don't have to say any names, but like, do you have any good cheating stories of somebody that got caught, or like what guys did? Like, you don't have to say any names, but
you know that V track that we was talking about?
yeah.
Right after that V track thing, my engines was not set up. I don't know how to say it, but I didn't have my fuel system right. It would be fat when I started. Mm-hmm. I'd blow fuel out. I'd be going to the line, and that's the way dragsters are.
Yeah, it looks like they're raw fuel popping out.
Yeah, they're just blowing fuel and all that there. And
like the plugs out.
The first run on mine was most generally fat, and then the second run, look out, because I was warmed up and I was ready to go. I could really come in the pull off, but I had to get out the end with them. But anyway, I was blowing quite a bit of fuel at that time, and the air was good out there. You know, it was
cool.
low sea level. You run good at low sea level.
Okay.
We was right there by the ocean, you know, right there by the Golden Gate Bridge. I mean, I could see it from where we was. And it was inside. And the tractor run good, and I beat them. And boy, Banter's running fuel. And at that time, alcohol was just plain alcohol, and you had troubles with all your nozzles, your things not getting enough lubrication. Mm-hmm. Well, they had a little bottle of stuff that you could pour in your fuel that would oil all your stuff.
All the injector nozzles.
Yeah, and your pumps and all this here. And it had, I don't know, very little nitro. Just a drop of nitro in this bottle.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
Why they put the nitro in it, I don't know. But it did kind of give a smell of nitro, but it wasn't no power booster.
That's what people are complaining of?
Yeah, and then they started checking our fuel. Mm. You know, checking our fuel, and then they got to where you had to buy the fuel off of them there. You know, so.
What about like, was there rules on compression ratio and all that stuff?
No. You can do whatever you want to do there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it would be open, I guess, right?
Yeah. We was down in Tampa Stadium where they play football, and we was pulling out there on the track in the wintertime. And he pulled out, and he broke something in his rear end. He pulled out there, and he was working on it. And I won the pull with this tractor here.
Okay.
I went out there and run it, and like I say, Bill Nolan, he thought, well, Dave won't know what to do with it, you know. Well, I took it out there and run with it, and when I was coming out, Margie comes up to me and to congratulate me. He puts his hand out. Rear end grease all over.
That's, yeah, like a prank kind of.
Yeah, we played pranks on one another all the time, And
That was actually one question I had about you and your brother. Was like growing up? Did you guys do like pranks and all that kind of stuff?
We did pretty good.
You have two other brothers too, right?
Yeah, a younger one and an older one.
Four brothers in the same house. And
Yeah.
There's got to be some mischief going on.
Yeah. Me and Ralph got along pretty good. He actually took me in when he was before he was dating too much and he was driving around. They kind of took me along with him.
Oh, really?
So we hung around a lot, quite a bit.
That's cool.
And I was kind of in that group with them, So, and
he was into building hot rods too. It sounds like.
afterwards,
yeah.
he did have, before we did too much pulling, he did have like a 36 and Chevy, I think, and he put a V8 in it or something, and he was going into Marion, and a guy pulled out in front of him, and he went up over top of the car and hit a pole up high, and they had to rush him to Fort Wayne Hospital, and they got a pretty good settlement out of that. This guy,
Yeah.
and that kind of helped on the finances of what we tried. I'm sure that had something to do with it. I didn't get into the money part of that, but no, it's when we got into tractors, he didn't have time for anything else.
Is that all he was doing? Like later after you guys retired, was doing hot rods?
He helped about 3 different pullers for about 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 years. He actually went with them.
Travel with them. And
Yeah.
As we watch Ralph Banter, the crew chief for Wayne Creech, lining up the dirt dancer. Let's go to Brett. 0.28 feet. And as Wayne Creech and Ralph Banter talk it over, let's go to Ken. It's a sport of inches. Here comes Wayne Creech, who saw him a minute ago with the dirt dancer. Talk about dancing. He's really dancing. Look at the little airplane tires on the front of that tractor, bouncing up and down. Wow, what vibration. A full. Wayne Creech is out of here.
Well, I'll tell you what, Wayne. Scott better bring his A game because 335 is a tough number to beat.
It was a good, strong run, but Scott can bring his A game, believe me. So it's going to be real important to watch what happens here.
His engines are too hot. Wayne Creech will take home the championship run here tonight.
This guy that's got real close to me in the points and the championships, he was working with that guy, and he got him running so good, he was just winning everything he could.
People must have hated that. Like,
Oh,
they
yeah.
see you guys roll in.
And this guy here, he had all the money in the world. I mean, he bought all the fancy new stuff at that time, and like the guys do now. But he put such a fast gear in it, he could never get it to hook up and all that. And I said, take that gear out and put the gear in we used to run. Even though you got all that horsepower, he kicked their butts. He'd put 20, 30 feet on them anytime he wanted to,
Experience, right?
Yeah.
Like just.
And that's the same thing as me and my oldest brother are doing right now in the antiques.
The antiques.
Because last year we ended up didn't win anything in the points. We tried too many things last year.
Oh.
And everybody else started tuning up this winter and putting more power in it and stuff. And they said, boy, we're kind of feeling sorry for the Banners. I don't think. And we went there, and we have 4 classes we run in, and we won 2 of them and got second in the other one. So.
Do you do that every weekend now?
Just about. Now we don't.
Really?
This weekend we're off.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll have to get that schedule, and
I'll give you a
schedule.
schedule. I got a paper.
So you said your last pull was in '96. Right?
Yeah.
96.
Yeah, at Inwood, Canada.
Oh, Canada. Hmm. Did you know it was your last one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was running the 7-engine, and I won that Inwood. It was Inwood, what it was called, the place where we pulled, and I won that several times. But I always won it because I outfoxed them and did things that they didn't know I was doing and stuff. And it was my last pull. I just went there to have a good time, you know. I needed to change the gear ratio before I went, and I didn't do that. And that 7-engine, them other guys, it was a power track, real good power track. And I actually run out of power with mine.
Oh, wow.
You know, it was hooking up so good.
Oh, man.
And if I'd have been down another ratio, I'd have picked up my RPMs and stayed with them. And I only liked inches of making it out, but I could have covered. But it wasn't worth it to me because I was wore out and tired.
In NTPA truck and tractor pulling, 48-year-old Dave Banter of LaFontaine, Indiana, is the undisputed king of unlimited modified tractors, sort of the biggest of the bigs, if you will. And with over 30 years of pulling experience, he's the winningest driver in NTPA history. Banter has 19 Grand National titles, 34 Pro National titles, and he's won the Indy Super Pull, the Indy 500 of the sport, 12 times. He didn't do this by himself. These are Banter Brothers titles. Dave and his older brother Ralph have been competing with NTPA since it was formed in 1969, and you can bet that plenty has changed over the years.
Well, the horsepower is went from, 1,500 to 8,000, 9,000 horsepower. So the horsepower is the biggest change that we've made over the years.
Unlimited and modified pretty much tells the tale of these incredible machines. With Dave driving and brother Ralph handling the wrenches, the Banter brothers are at the forefront of the multi-engine tractor concept.
Well, for us, running Chevys, we couldn't keep up with the bigger Hemis or the Aries motors that came along, and we couldn't make as much power, so I always had to basically put another motor in to turn the tires the same as they done. And as that's back when we had one-on-one, no contest.
What's the biggest hassle or headache in running a multi-engine setup like this, Ralph?
If you would have asked me that, say, 15 years ago, when I started with one, or adding two, it was a matter of getting them to run together, And then once we got them together, now we got 6 on here. If you can get 2 running together, you can get 6 running together. Fuel was a big thing for us 3 years ago. David's came up with his own fuel system. He quit listening to everybody else, how they fueled theirs, and made up our own, and really has made a big difference.
Well, running so long and dominating so long, you might think that the Banter brothers could be lulled into a false sense of security, sort of a comfortable groove. That would be dangerous.
No, you got to really work hard against that. When you get your confidence overbuilt, you go out there and make big mistakes. You got to go out each time and run as hard as you can to even compete in this game.
So what about the future? 7 engines and 10,000 horsepower and a long list of triumphs. What can these guys possibly come up with to stay on top?
Your question, what is it going to take in the future? Not be afraid to try something new. It might not work, you might fall on your duff, but you can only make so much power, and I'm hoping the power curve with all of us tractor pullers kind of equal out here. Then it rely more on like drag racing stuff, who's the quickest on the throttle, or around and around, who's the best driver, and whose chassis works the best. If we all turn tires, say in 60-mile-an-hour range, all of us together, then you got to find something else for your tractor to be a winner.
Over the years, the Banter brothers have had a rather simple racing credo. Drive your tractor as hard as you can, meet in and meet out. Dave Banter has often said you've got to get after your equipment and drive it as hard as you can to be any kind of a good driver. He says, the more I abuse the tractor and the more it takes, the better it is for the business and the better it is for this sport. And no one has had more success with that kind of formula than the Banter brothers. 2 of racing's colorful people, brought to you by Kodak. Crew goes to work in the toolbox. Now, every race that we do, John Massingbird, there is a guy to beat, and this is the guy to beat here at Inwood. From LaFontaine, Indiana, Mr. David Banter. 6 blown 454 Chevys. One of 2 tractors. This 48-year-old is the guy you got to catch, meet in and meet out.
Well, you're right, Eric, and you talk about guys being legends in their own mind. Well, these guys are really legends in their own time. David Banter, as you say, LaFontaine, Indiana, but brother Ralph, he's the guy that engineers these things,
Puts them together.
builds the chassis, builds the motors, and has really been a guy that's been a leading innovator in this sport when it comes to drive lines. You can see them back into the sled, the hook goes in, and then there's the emergency kill switch that will kill all 6 of those engines should the unlikely occurrence of a hook or a chain breaking happen.
Dave Banter, the 48-year-old professional tractor puller. This is all he does. Some of these other guys have other occupations. 27 years in this business, 18 Grand National points titles.
A great looking pass for Banter, typical style, straight as an arrow and hard on the throttle. David doesn't waste any time. He knows you got to use the horsepower here.
Horns are going off, the first full pull here at Inwood, and you kind of expected that the Banters may be the first ones to do it, John.
Well, nobody's more familiar with this track than David Banter. They've got a lot of laps down this thing. They know the track. David loves this place because it gives him a chance to use all of Ralph's horsepower that he builds into these motors and all of his chassis flexibility. Take a look at this run. Watch where he started on the far left-hand side of the track. He's using the brakes right now to correct it from the left to the right, and pretty much straight as an arrow, 300 feet and change.
Shuts it off right there.
Well, I'll tell you what, David Banter, 6 blown Chevrolets make a lot of racket, but it was nowhere near as loud as the crowd when you went 301 even. Congratulations, Dave.
Oh, that's good. You know, we're in a tight race here, and I had to lay down a good run here. You know, I can't come here and stumble around, or Gardner got a chance to take it away from me. So that's all I had. We'll see what happens the next go-around.
Good luck. Go get him. You got another one yet to go.
Yeah, and it's important, too. So thank you.
David Banter, first man out, past the full pull line.
Yeah,
You know.
I was gonna say, do you miss it? Like the big stuff, the multi.
Oh yeah, I miss it, but if I could go back the way it is then, I would not go.
No.
Now, one thing you can keep in mind is if there's a roll bar on a tractor, I never was pulling. I never pulled under a roll bar. The roll bar started the year right after me.
Oh, did you have belts?
Yeah, I had safety belts, but I didn't. Sometimes I didn't wear them, but
Just in case, like you can get out of it quick of a fire or something, or.
I did a special on TV with them one time about safety belts.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Really?
and this was a long time ago.
I'll have to find that.
And I had it on and everything. And they watched me buckle up, and I got up the other end. They was interviewing me, and they wanted me to unhook, and it filled full of dirt. I couldn't get it unhooked.
Oh man!
And I kept trying. I said, "Yeah, everything went pretty good."
You gotta do that on those ending interviews, huh?
Yeah, I had to cut the belt.
Oh, you couldn't get out.
I couldn't get it to open up. It's full of
man.
ground up dirt in there, you know.
Did you ever get hurt doing this?
No, I got burnt a time or two on headers, touching them after you get done running.
Ooh. Oh yeah.
I went through a lot of jackets. Walk
of
by and
elbows.
lean up.
You forget, right?
Yeah, but I don't know which tractor it was, but I was down in Georgia, me and Bruce Hutcherson, and that's when they was putting bars under the sled. I don't know if you about that.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Well, they was putting them way too far forward, and the guys that had high horsepower would lift up the pan and carry it, and when that pan dropped down and them bars, then it just jerked your tractor and got you bouncing.
But you would slam your front end down.
Yeah, and the back end would get a bouncing because it was trying to lift it up and then it dropped, lift it up and drop, and it just about throwed me off of that tractor. I was holding on the steering wheel looking down at it, and I had the old iron seats in them, you know, like
Not even racing seats.
no, they was the old iron seats that the tractors had because they were light and they had holes in them.
With the oil spring on the bottom?
No, it wasn't no spring. It was solid.
Right, but I'm saying
Solid.
that kind of seat.
But when I come down, I bent that seat,
Ooh.
and my back was hurting so bad. When I got done hooking on, and I was done, that was the last pull, and I went and drove it around, didn't have them hooked a tow tractor on me because I had to get out, and drove it around, put her up in the trailer and everything. And then we had to drive about all night to, it wasn't Atlanta, but south of Atlanta somewhere. I can't think of the town, but I couldn't get out of the truck once I got in the truck.
Oh, really?
And
The back was that bad?
yeah, and then a day or two it was okay, but that was the most hurt I got. So
Really? That's not bad then.
no.
Did you ever like have it where like you lose, fuel or ignition and the sled keeps coming and then you gain it and you get that bang from the, where it's like you get a little bit of slack and then it goes, like you pull against the chain and it's almost like a, you ever seen that?
No, I tore up a tractor pretty bad out at Des Moines, and it was because of the chain. Reba McIntyre had a show going on in front of the grandstands.
Yeah, okay.
And they had a rail car where her stage would come out there,
Yeah.
and she would play it on there, and then when she was done, they was going to roll the stage away.
Oh.
And I was first puller, and they said Reba was going to watch, They talked her into watching. They was going to roll the car away, and she'd stand there and watch on that railroad thing. And they had me back in there in the dark. I wasn't running because she was playing music.
Yeah.
And
Push you back or something?
and they hooked up the chain, and they had a twist in it.
Ooh.
And it was a lot shorter than it was supposed to be. And I parked right along the retaining wall because her thing was over here. But that was the high side of the track, and I go down. I always go down on the track, but downhill's easier. And I thought, well, I'll show off a little bit. And I come a little hard. That old girl just went up here like this, and then it went over like it was going to land on the wall. I hit the brake real hard and it come back and come down, tore the front end up. The blower pulleys went down into the dirt and bent the frame. And we worked all night. I had to go back and take all the engines out of it and go get it welded.
Take them all out.
Yeah. I had my own chain hoist and stuff. I took them all out. We worked all night on it. And the next night was the Enderley
A big one.
at Fort Recovery. So I had to, not that. I had a whole day to get that fixed and get to the Enderley. But it was a big load, and I had to readjust the engines because the frame bent. And all my shafts weren't lined up. I had to line all that back up and re-drill holes and got it all together and everything. And was probably that one over there was the one that I had to come back to.
The big checks?
Yeah, the big check. And I called him out and I told him, I said, I had a little problem with the tractor. We tore the front end, broke the front end loose, and we bent the frame a little bit. And I think I got it set up, and I made another run at Des Moines, and I put it in the truck and headed straight to Fort Recovery. And I said, now I don't want you to look at that till after we run, because he would have said, you're not running that. And he'd have got really nervous then, And I went to Fort Recovery, and I got a second with it. I got a first with the other one.
That's awesome.
Wow. It was just, I had a lot of luck. And I had people there just helping me like you couldn't believe. I mean, this guy said, I can weld that up for you, you know. And so I took the engines off, and another guy come in with a trailer because I couldn't hardly take my semi.
Yeah, right.
And my wife was with me that time too.
Of course. You guys want to spend some time together and you're pulling 6 engines out.
Yeah, I'm working all night on it. And we had guys work on it and help me. And pulling just was
an experience too.
a really good time.
Yeah.
I got more memories than I can remember. You know, and it was a blessing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You had a couple guys that went with you, right?
I had a different crew, a lot of times, a different one each time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't have no. The one guy that there to last, he had a lot of vacation time. He worked at GE, and he had a lot of time built up. He could take time off and stuff, but there was a lot of time I went completely by myself. But I would get help at the pull, and who would help me the most was that pull you just went to.
Farley?
Yeah. Who was the guy?
Oh, Simon? Roger Simon?
Roger had helped me more than anybody out there.
Really?
Yeah. He was always at the pull when I come there. They'd bring his 2-wheeler around and pull me wherever.
He had one of everything, it seemed like.
Yeah, I mean, he had a little Jeep-like thing he could pull the tractor.
Yeah.
And if I needed anything, boy, and when I go to places where if he had extra passes, like at Fort Recovery, he'd give me all of his extra passes. And when I go out to areas where he was at, I'd just give him all my passes because I'd have like 10 passes that I don't need, you know. And
by yourself, huh?
Yeah, I had some super stalkers that really did help take care of me. They'd pick me up in the mornings, take me out for breakfast.
Yes, he's another good friend that was H1 then.
Yeah.
They got quite the operation over there now.
Yeah.
You been out there lately?
No. No, he was big time.
Well, he's basically built like a racetrack out there.
Yeah.
And now there's in the middle is a pulling dual track.
Mm-hmm.
And then his trucking company's right there, and it's humongous.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's new. It's nice, you know. I don't know, how long did it take to, like, if you had to pull engines for a different class, how long would it take to take off an engine?
Like when we go from 9,000 to 7,000, I'd have to take off 2 engines.
Right.
It'd take me approximately 10 minutes.
That's it?
Yeah. The gearbox sat here like that, and there was 6 bolts on it. And you just take the impact and zoom, 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 and you just lift that right up and put a plate on that, and you're done. And the fuel tank was connected to the engine. It come out with the engine.
Oh.
All I had to do is unhook the throttle cable. You know, I'd unhook it and lay it down along the frame, and it was just snap-on fittings. You lay down along the frame.
Each engine had their own fuel tank.
Yeah.
Okay.
Had their own fuel tank, and
probably a harness for the ignition.
I had one wire, a mag wire. You unhook it and lay it down along the frame, and you just lift that thing up. And I had hooks on the headers.
Oh.
You know,
Ready
and
to
the
go.
chain hoist would come down here and just hook. We'd roll it up, and then we had a big arm that stuck out of our trailer,
Seen those.
and we'd pull it out and roll the trailers up. I never got a picture of one thing I wished I'd have got a picture of, is when I had the semi-trailer sitting there and I had the doors open there, and I'd have like 5 or 6 engines sitting in there because I was running the light classes. You know what I mean?
How many extra engines did you have in the trailer?
We always carried a couple, but they weren't complete engines. They was just short blocks. I mean, they had an intake on them, pan and all that. But I had to put the blower and the mag and stuff like that on it. But I wished I would have had an engine picture of that, because people come and watch me pull engines.
Yeah.
Oh, they just love that.
Yeah.
They just love that.
You know how long it takes to pull a regular engine? It's
Yeah.
like 10 minutes. Like
Yeah,
it's
and my old chain hoist was a ring, noisy old thing, you know.
like a garage door.
Yeah.
As the crowd arrives for Sunday's competition, the Banter Brothers team pare down their tractors from last night for today's 7,200-pound class.
I don't have to unhook any fuel lines or your battery cables or anything like that. They're all contained into one motor, and like I could go right over there and start the motors right there in the truck, you know, if I so wanted to, you know. But take this particular tractor here. When I run in the 7,000, I have to take out 2 motors, and just to make the weight class, and I end up with no weights on it. So we've had to determine where we wanted these motors put in the frame when we were building it back in January to be weighted fairly right in the 7,000 because we don't have no weight to move. So you have to place your horsepower down the frame far enough to be weighted, and we know how heavy that front axle has to be to run the 7, and if you don't get it that heavy, you're going to be too light. So that's how we end up having to weight it in the 7.
While Dave solved the weight distribution and horsepower problems with the chassis design, Ralph had to design the best way to get the power to the ground.
And then putting it back was probably the same
The
thing.
same
right?
way, yeah. Yeah, we'd pull like the 7 and then have to go back and put 2 engines on and pull the 9.
Yeah.
I had a trucker going down the road one time on the CB, and he said, well, there went Banter Brothers. And he was talking to this other driver, and he said, boy, he said, I went and watched them pull the other day, and he said, they went out there and they hooked on, they didn't do that good, and they went back and put some more motors on, and they come back and wow, did they
Let her rip.
Yeah, it was quite a deal.
Was your dad or mom was he ever into this stuff?
My dad pulled garden tractors.
He did?
Yeah.
Oh, so.
Yeah, and he actually won the state in his little wheel horse he had.
Yeah.
You know, and he got into pulling. And,
when you guys were doing it?
Yeah. One time when we was down in Florida pulling, they built up a mini rod. I don't know if you ever seen the picture of me on a mini rod.
No.
It's coming around. I didn't think it'd ever come around. I didn't care whether it did or not. But anyway, Dad and my youngest brother put this mini rod together, and this was back in the 80s. And they'd come down every weekend. There was 3 weekends that they was going to pull down there. They went and come the first weekend, didn't do very good. They took it back home, and they come the second weekend, and it still didn't do very good. And they took it back. They said, well, I don't know. And me and Ralph said, well, if you leave it here, I'll drive it. You know, Dave would drive it, and we got room on the trailer to bring it home. You wouldn't have to make another. They said, good, do that. So that pull that was over with when they were there, they left, and the transfer guy was still there, you know. And I know them transfer guys that's part of winning the pull. You need to know how that transfer works. You just don't hook to something and don't know what's back there. But anyway, I got along with the transfer guys good. And I said, I need a practice run, you know, because I'm going to run that next weekend for him. And they said, okay, because that was the last pull to run was the mini rods.
Yeah.
And the crowd had all left and everything, and I hooked onto it. And it had a 6-cylinder Ford engine in it, and he had a turbo on it, turbocharger. Mm-hmm. And a real big turbocharger. It was kind of one that we took off of a diesel truck. It was way more turbo than he needed for that little 6-cylinder, you know.
Yep.
And they could never get the turbo to kick in. So I got on it and I ramped it up and let it out and wouldn't go. And I was watching the tack. They said go to so many RPM, 6 or 7, whatever it was. And I tried 2 times, couldn't get it to do. And Ralph come up there and bent the tack over. That's the way kind of things he does. I don't want you to listen to that tack. I want you to open that up, and when you think that motor's about to blow, you let out on the clutch. And I let out on the clutch then, and I tell you, I was at the other end of the track before I knew it. Them mini rods or something to
Oh,
drive.
I can't imagine.
Oh,
Well,
yeah. Oh, it was just all over the track, and then poof, down there. And when
you
I
got
got
all that stuff like right here. That's gotta be a
yeah,
little
yeah, I was
scary.
right,
Like,
right in there. And I said, that's all the practice I need, you know. And the guy said, you put 5 feet on him. The guy that won it, you know.
because of Ralph telling you to drive it.
Yeah, I finally got the turbo to kick in. So we all week sat around, you know, and waited for the next pull we went to. And when it got time to pull there, I backed in there, and I went about, I don't know, 40 feet. Dry shaft, the gearing broke.
Oh, let loose.
Yeah, he had a coupler. It busted. It's over.
Is all that stuff contained though, or does it go?
Oh, it was contained.
Okay,
I mean,
that's the
kind of
thing about
sparks
that
down
stuff.
in
Like,
there, huh?
Man, it's a lot. Like the thing's right in front of you. Like
Yeah,
that's crazier than a funny car. I think.
yeah.
I'm surprised your hearing is as good as it is. Did you ever have hearing problems from all these years?
No,
Never.
no,
Did you wear earplugs? Like
no.
How's that even possible? Like,
My helmet was my saver.
yeah.
Now, I put on a helmet a timer to try to helmet out, and then it didn't have very much padding on my ears. Boy, did it ever hurt. But I had good helmets.
I was just thinking the pits, even when you're tuning them or messing around.
The guys standing down there along the engines got more problems than me sitting up there in the controls.
Oh, okay.
Now, I did have them when between pulls, I'd get down far up an engine and go down there and walk around it and tune it and everything. And you could feel it in your ears a lot more if it was you was right there close to it,
Yeah.
you know. But no, hearing, my wife says my hearing ain't very good, but
Well, you got something to blame it on.
yeah. Hey, I pulled for 30 years.
Did you have to dyno the engines?
No, there wasn't no way.
No.
This Gertie engine, he could have dynoed him if we wanted him to, but
It's too much.
yeah, we didn't do that. No. With what we were running and everything else, and the type of blowers and everything, some people said we could possibly have 1,200. I think more around 1,000. You know, if you had a good blower on it, you could make some power.
Yeah.
You know, the first 4 or 5 laps on a brand new blower, I tell you what.
Would you reseal them all at the same time?
No.
No.
But the new ones, you could, once you get one and you have to have it resealed, it ain't nothing like a new one.
Oh. Oh, really?
No, it don't get as tight as what a new one does. And
That's one thing I learned about when I was doing the guy with the truck. It was $700 a day just for dyno.
yeah,
You know, I'm like, well, that's another cost I didn't even think about.
Yeah.
And you got to get it there.
yeah,
You know, and it's like,
yeah,
then if you're doing 6 of them, I can't even.
yeah. No, we never did do any of that. We had the capability of that guy doing them for us, but
Yeah.
he said you don't need to do that.
Oh, we got to hear that.
About 3 years with that Hemi in it.
So the first tractor you had, you used it as a regular
Farm tractor and planted in it. Yeah, and it had the 23-1 24 tires on it or whatever the size they were. And we put a hydraulic pump on it so I could raise the planter up. I had a forward-row John Deere planter I pulled behind it. And me and Ralph, I had about 120 acres I was farming for my mother-in-law. And then Ralph had some relation, needed some farming, so me and him was farming for a while.
And it worked fine?
Well, yeah, I'd kid everybody, you know, you change your plate in your planter from a bean to a corn because you spaced the corn further.
Okay.
I said, I just drove faster.
That's hilarious. That would work.
Yeah. No, but I did plant with that Hemi, you know. I spec probably close to 3 years.
3 years?
Yeah. I had a 1650 Oliver that I did the groundwork with and dissed it and all that. And I didn't have no tractor to pull the planter because I got set up to plant behind my Olivers.
Where did you get the rear ends?
Out of the junkyards.
Is it like a
truck rear end, center truck?
That's what
rear
it looks
end.
like a 2.5 ton truck?
No, it's semi.
Oh, it's a semi rear.
Yeah. I can't tell you this. But you cut that off there and weld this planetary on it. Oh. This here is a planetary.
Okay.
And then it goes on there. And you really have to know what you're doing to weld that on there.
Get it straight and
Get it straight and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he had a big bar that goes clear through there
Like
when he
Kelly.
welded it. And then the first one he welded, he tried to use his regular welder and it cracked and wouldn't hold. And then he had to buy stick rods, real high dollar ones. I mean,
For the good the metal content?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to weld them and hold. And then after he did the stick point rods, it lasted forever.
Well, it gets it really hot too. I mean, it's got to be.
Yeah. There we go.
The pulse always quickens a little bit when Dave Banter hooks up to the sled and gets ready to pull.
Well, the dynamic duo.
See, we just got that and done. We didn't even hardly get our lettering on it.
Yeah.
Building tractors, and I tell you, they've been 13 times Grand National Circuit champions.
I'm going to put
Probably
this
the most
back here watching you watch it.
championship pullers in NTPA. However, Tim Engler and Bruce Hutchison really coming on strong the last couple of years. They normally don't do all that well in the 7, but they'll give everybody a run for their money today. Running for the 427 Chevrolet. Here we go. Dave Banter.
Check it out.
Sean, I will eat my words on that one, and I'm sure Ralph Banter will come and say, hey, we do well in the 7.
Well, he did what he had to do with that pull, and if it looks like he got the full pull, should put him into the pull-off. Here it is on the replay.
You will see a big gap right in front of the driver, Dave Banter. That's where they'll add the 5th motor on Sunday afternoon for the 12 Open, and boy, they get it out by just a couple of feet. Now, they may be under-horsepowered a little bit right there, but as I said earlier
Don't
in the
hurt.
broadcast, they'll never be out-engineered.
And it is official. Full pull for Dave Banter, and so now we have
I got
Ronnie Reed,
one pull that
Tim
I was
Engler,
at the Super
and
Bowl.
Dave Banter all waiting for the
And
pull-off.
I went down there and I was running the sideline, and I took it, just got it out the end, and it would have been the winning pull, and they said, I think you hit the chalk. So they told me to pull away and they'd check it, and they graded back and
Just niffed it.
nipped it. They threw me out.
That's
But that's the way me and Ralph went. We went to try to win, and if you had to run the sideline and get caught with it, you get caught with it.
so. When you watch that, what does it make you like think about her? Feel or
what I'm thinking when I'm going down through there,
like reliving it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I enjoy watching them now.
Yeah.
For the first few years, I didn't even want to see nothing.
Really?
I wanted to. You can't sober up and still go to the tavern. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just had to walk away from it and got busy and other stuff. But now I've got time and I got a computer top and I can pull up stuff and you get some stuff in there too and I can go to and
Yeah.
it's going to be great.
Here's my 3 pictures of your stuff at the Buck when I was a kid. I got those 3.
Oh, they had my cab tractor there. I think I was probably at that buck. That was probably when I was driving there.
You remember going there? Buck's about the biggest one in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. There for a while, Ralph and them, they'd have a pull every weekend.
They do. We would go up there all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
because we used to live near it.
Ralph and them would drive back and forth. Him and Smitty.
From here to
Yeah.
Ooh, well, that's, what, 10, 12 hours?
Yeah.
Well, Pittsburgh from me is 10, and you're 4. You're probably about
9 hours, 10 hours.
to Pittsburgh
To,
or to Philly
Yeah, to
or to the Buck.
Buck. They'd drive back and forth every weekend there for a while when there was nothing else going on.
Just to go or to compete?
To compete. Took
Oh, okay.
tractors out there. Yeah.
How much fuel would you burn in a run?
You have to run, we had to run about 2 gallon per engine to keep them alive. If you leaned them down much more than that, they would burn up.
For one run?
Yeah. So if you had 10 engines, 5 engines, you'd use close to 10 gallon or so, you know.
And then the 7 was
Yeah, it
15?
took, yeah, good 15, yeah.
And then you would make, well, you always probably had a pull off too, right?
Well, you'd go back and put more fuel
Pretty
in.
much every time. So
Yeah.
now you're 30 gallons. And then you would run a different weight class. You
Yeah.
could go through 2 drums.
Oh, 2 drums during the pull, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or more.
yeah. I got sick at Elkhorn, Wisconsin one time, and they was running the 12 Unlimited, and Norm and Ralph was doing it because I was in the truck sick.
Oh,
And they went through 55 gallon for that one class. Because they was
so fat?
they was full first puller, and they couldn't get the sled set. And Ralph was bullheaded enough. I'm going to run first because the track was going to go away, you know. But they just kept, and I could laying in that bunk, and I could still hear him calling, "Okay, Banter, bring her back."
How many times were they doing that?
I think they run about like 6 times.
And they would put up with it with the heat? Is that what they-
Everybody talked on them air things. Oh, we can't run it again because it'd get too hot. Alcohol, they don't get
You
that
could
hot.
touch a blower after a run, right? Wouldn't it be cold?
Yeah, blower will start frosting up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but alcohol cools your engine down, especially when you get done running. And if you just run a little bit, it cools it back down, you know.
I'll just let it idle. And
Yeah, just drive it away from the track.
was it worse to shut it down at the end of the run? And then like the heat soak? Or did you just shut it down and it get pulled off most of the time? Right?
We drove off the track. I like to drive off the track.
To cool it down?
Yeah, and speed up the show. I didn't like holding the show up. I really didn't now.
Speed up the show. I really, really appreciate your time today.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for all this time today.
All right.
But the best he can finish is 3rd. He may end up 4th because Dave Banter is going to try and knock him and the rest of them off in the Bandit. Army, here he comes.
Tell you what, if there's a love affair in the sport, it's between Dave Banter and the fans of Bowling Green, Ohio. Look at this. Banter comes out. He seems to have a lock on the clay. He's got it figured out. Screaming a Chevrolet engine. Look at this. 253 had to beat.
He got it. 255.1. They're going bananas in Bowling Green as their favorite has done it again. He throws that clutch right fist in the air. Dave Banter has done it. The Bandit wins the 9,200-pound modified tractor class in Bowling Green, Ohio. Here's Army with your champ.
Well, Dave Banter, congratulations. You know, it's kind of interesting. Banter sitting here with the same type of enthusiasm after winning many national championships as a kid would have after winning his first high school letter. Congratulations. These people love you in this town. That was a well-deserved win, Dave.
Well, I love these people in Ohio, too. You know, tractor pulling fans are the greatest. And when I can go out and do that in front of them and they cheer me like that, that's serious tractor pulling.